AI is not the savior of mankind. AI is not this super amazing technology that's going to change the face of the world overnight or even in 10 years. It is absolute trash. And it's not even really AI. They say, here's AI, it's amazing, it's the future artificial intelligence. There's nothing intelligent about the current system that they use for AIs. They're just next word guesstimators. That's all they are. They just, based on previous data, they just guess what the next best word is with varying degrees of accuracy. They just don't work. And I just see so many people buying into the hype, like, oh yeah, it's gonna take all our jobs. It's really not. Like, maybe it might take over customer service jobs, but that's about it. That's about as good as it gets. And those jobs have been, a lot of those jobs have been gone to chatbots for a long time. Like, there aren't that many of them left. And even those are just outsourced to other countries, like to countries that are cheaper, to people that don't speak very good English, and just read off the script. But AI basically can't do anything unsupervised. You can't really give it access to anything. And if you sandbox it, it's completely useless. If you give it access to all your data, it trains on it and it just does all sorts of horrible things that you don't want it to do. It doesn't understand reasoning. It doesn't understand logic. And about the only good use case for it is maybe mathematics, and maybe sort of science research and medical research. But apart from that, it's absolutely garbage. And, we all know we're in a bubble. Everyone knows it. Everyone keeps saying it. But I don't think anyone's realized, like, it's ridiculous. Like, you know, and there's a really obvious point about AI and why it can't take all our jobs, which is AI needs original data to become better. So because so many people are just generating slop, that slop is being refed into these data models and making them dumber. Like, anyone that used the earlier public models will tell you that the newer models are actually worse. Like, now they'll be like, oh, but they do images, and now they do music, and they do audio, and they do pictures, and I can like do like an entire website and stuff. And it's like, there's more token usage. Yeah, you can use more memory. That's true. Like, you can get bigger outputs, but the quality of the outputs is absolutely trash. Because now the data is just it's just dirty. It's just all dirty water now. An actual scary advance in technology will be quantum computing, because at the moment we're at basically the limit of what like classical computing is. Like, there's really not much further we can go unless we quite literally want to like burn the planet to the ground and use up all the water and heat the planet to a ridiculous degree. We're just not gonna get many more stretches with classic computing. It's just not there. Like, quantum computing is terrifying. Like, when computers, quantum computing happens, and decades old encryptions that have stood for decades can be broken in like 3 seconds, that's terrifying. Because all of those data breaches that happened, over the last 30 years, where they've gotten a hold of like encrypted data and not been able to do anything with it, they'll just be able to break those overnight. That's actually scary. Like, that'll actually change the course of politics and maybe even humans as a whole, like, overnight. But AI is not going to do that. AI is not going to be this like uber world order changing mechanism. It's just garbage. It's just absolute trash. Anyone that's worked with it for any length of time will just tell you that it's trash. It just doesn't work. It's expensive. And now, here's the thing, now it's expensive. People think, oh, it's getting a bit pricey. Oh, the prices are going up, the monthly fees are going up, all the API costs are going up, it's going up and up and up and up and up. And it's like, they're still losing money. Like, these companies are still losing money, even though they keep upping the prices, because that's how resource intensive this stuff is. It's insane how resource intensive these models are. And what you get is not even that good. So they're like, what people are paying now is like probably a 1/100th of what people would actually need to pay for these companies to be profitable. And if you times what you pay a month, like for some of these pro models, it's like £200 a month. So like, times that by $120,000, pounds, or whatever a month to use one of these models. that's what it would take. Those are the kind of numbers that people they would need to hit to be profitable. So it just doesn't make sense. So what we're seeing is probably what's going to what did happen with cloud computing. Cloud computing became a thing. It was amazing. You had Microsoft, Amazon, and then Google came along, and they were like, you can like host in the cloud, and it's amazing. You don't need data centers. So all these companies like closed all their data centers down, moved to the cloud. They were like, this is so cheap. We can start up resources and close them down. It's so good. Amazing. 5 years later, boom, jack the prices through the roof. What are you going to do? Reopen a data center? Good luck with that. It's going to cost you millions to do that, like upfront millions. And you've let go of all the people that ran your data centers. They're not coming back. They've switched careers. They've gone. Or they've actually gone to your competitor. Like, you're not your competitor, sorry. They've gone to the people that own the cloud environments to run those data centers. And it's just a classic, get in, undercut, load the company up with loads of debt, get people in, they buy into it, they're used to it, they're completely, all their processes are all involved with it, they're just completely invested, and then boom, you jack up the prices. And then they're just a captive audience. They can't do anything. You're a monopoly. They can't. And then they're like, oh, well, we'll go to the other competitor. But the other competitors, Microsoft and Google, Amazon, doesn't matter which one you're with, which one you swap to, they're all as expensive as each other. There's really no cost savings between them. They're all about the same. It's just, and that's what we're seeing with AI. It's, I'll get used to it. Everyone use AI. Like, use it in your house, use it as a personal assistant, use it in your car, use it at work, everywhere. AI. Oh, you want to ask a question? Use AI. Don't like use a search engine, use AI. And we're actually at a point now where Google uses AI. It doesn't even work like a traditional search engine anymore. They're like, yeah, we use AI. And like, if you actually like use AI and ask it questions, like a lot of the time, it just finds someone's comment on Reddit and then just says this is the answer to that question, and like doesn't verify it at all. Like, it genuinely uses Reddit as like a source of truth, which is hilarious because Redditors are habitual liars and degenerates. Like, they don't know anything. But these models just use Reddit as a source because it's training off the internet. It's training off of Reddit data. And then because it doesn't know, it doesn't have any logic, it doesn't think, there's no thought behind it. It just goes, oh, that's an answer, and then just blurts out, and it's just completely wrong. But then you say, well, that's wrong, and it goes, no, and then it just wants to please you. So it's just like, oh no, I fixed it, and it hasn't, because it doesn't actually know what it's written. This is what people think you're talking to it. It doesn't know. It quite literally doesn't know what it's written. It's just guessing the next best word based on your prompt and based on like the data. And that, like I said, the day is getting worse. We need people to keep coming up with original data. There's even jobs now where you actually create data for the AIs to train off of. There are jobs where they're hiring like programmers and mathematicians and all sorts of different people from all sorts of careers, where they're basically creating data to train the models off of, because they've run out of data. Because if you put all of humankind into these models, that's it. You've run out of data. That's it. You put all human knowledge inside of it. What you get out of it is just a bastardization of all the data that's ever existed in human history. And they say it's generative. It's not generative. It's just taking things that already exist and just slightly smashing them together in only so many ways. You run out of things. Innovation is innovation is in some way copying, but it's an evolution of something. The car is a evolution of a horse-drawn carriage, but you wouldn't say that a horse-drawn carriage is the same as a car, right? But an AI would never invent like a new mode of transportation, because it can only copy things that have already existed. It's not innovating. It doesn't have neurons in their brains firing randomly like humans do. It's not capable of sparks of imagination and random thought. It doesn't have that ability. Like, if they ever map a human brain and they can like get it to fire neurons randomly in their brain, sure, that's terrifying, right? That's possibly something that's thinking and it has access to all data in human history. That's kind of scary. But until that point, it's not that scary, and it just generates slop, just slop. And now the internet is just filled with slop. That's just slop city. Like, everything is slop. Social media is slop. basically every platform on the internet is just slop. It's just slop everywhere. Art is slop, and it's bleeding into real life. Like you go to shops and it's just AI generative slop art everywhere, and you're just like, oh my god. And really young people can't tell that it's AI, and older people can't tell that it's AI. And there's like this middle ground of people who are like 25 to sort of 40 who have been around, grown up with the internet, been around enough, and basically, the people that would find it hard to fall for a scam on their computer, a computer scam, they would find it quite difficult. It's not impossible, but they'd be kind of like, oh, I know about this because they play video games, they've been scammed playing RuneScape or whatever, right? So they're kind of like switched on. There's this like 15-year gap or 15-year age range where people can be like, that's AI, that's slop. We're even seeing like AI slop artists now that are becoming like mega celebrities just making AI slop music. And it's just nonsensical garbage. It's absolutely trash. And again, people are pointing out this is AI, but the young people don't know any better, and the older people don't know any better. So they're basically just those two ends of the age spectrum are just being sold on it. And I guess as more young people are born, they won't know that they won't even know a world that AI didn't exist, which is terrifying. So they will not be able to tell the difference. So it's just insane. And and this is before we even get on the whole how bad it is for the environment. Will there even be a planet left with all the damage that it's doing and the amount of water that's using up? We're having insane amounts of heat waves, loads of water's being used up, and there's really no recourse. It's just happening. And like they're using fresh water. Like I genuinely have no idea. Like I'm a techie guy, but like why do they need to use fresh water to like water cool the data center? Can't use dirty water. I mean, you're not actually splashing the computers, right? You're not literally. Well, maybe they are. Maybe they are. Are they? I don't know. Are they demineralizing the water and then cooling the? I don't think they will be doing that. But why is it always clean water they have to use? Can't they use dirty water? Or can't they just take dirty water and clean it themselves and then use that? Why do they have to use clean water supplies? It's ridiculous. And there's people out here who can't even water their plants at home because there's a hosepipe ban, because there's a drought or whatever, wherever they live, or there's wildfires going on, and it's just crap. Like I don't buy into it like at all, and it's just really like weird. Like we're even seeing governments buying into it. Like the UK government's buying into it. They're wanting to use AI to like transform like the civil service. It's like, why don't you just try paying the people in the civil service like actually like decent salaries, and like let them work from home, and don't treat them like idiots, and maybe get some of the rid of the red tape. And it's like, no, you know what we'll do? We'll put this in the hands of a AI which just hallucinates absolute garbage all the time, terrible for the environment, expensive, super vulnerable, can be abused to high heaven. Let's just use that instead. And it's like, have we all collectively lost our minds? There's far too many people that don't know anything about computers in charge of these decisions, like these decisions that are going to shape the future. It's just ridiculous. And there's really no stopping on the gravy train. And from an economy point of view, we literally can't stop, because there's been so much cyclical debt that all these companies have been taking on. Like, oh, this company's lending 50 billion to this company's lending 40 billion to that company, and they're just going round and round and round in a circle, and the evaluation's just going like through the roof. And there's no demand. There's literally no demand for these products, like at all. There's nothing useful. And there are some people, like I said, like AI slop artists, like music artists, and there are people that are generating like books and stuff, but that's all slop. And I think, even if people can't tell that it's AI, I think people will notice that the quality of these products and music and services are worse. And I think people won't buy these types of things as much. They get infected by the sort of AI bug. But time will sort of tell. I always hear about people who like they've gone to the shop and they bought something thinking, oh, look at this cool toy for their kid, and it's like an AI generated slop character, and it's just awful. It's just like, what is this? Like, what is this real? Like this cannot be real. This absolutely cannot be real. And another thing about these AI systems, like for example, let's say they do replace all the people that work in call centers, right? And they're, people, call their bank and it's an AI person and they're talking to this AI, right? They're actually these AI systems are actually more vulnerable because those call center lines will then be open 24/7, right? Because there's no person there. So there won't, there'll be 100, I don't know, AI chatbots, right? Doing their thing, maybe thousands, I don't know, talking to people and stuff. There might be like one person monitoring it all and they won't be able to like really see what's going on. And people who ring up will basically have an infinite amount of times to be able to try and trick the AI or socially engineer the AI, prompt inject, and all these like vulnerabilities that are just super easy to do. We'll be able to infinitely try and break these systems, infinitely try and, well, just exploit their vulnerabilities, really. Because, yeah, we can. I mean, we're now seeing scammers call people. They use like AI chatbots that like get you hooked on the phone. Like, so like they have this automated robot calls and you pick up and it's like an AI, and then you're like, oh, what do I need to do? And they're like, oh, we'll transfer you. And then once the AI's got you on the hook, it transfers you to another person. But like there's ways to basically keep the AI in a loop for infinity. So you've answered the call, it's not costing you anything. You can just keep the AI in a loop for an infinite amount of time. And the person on the other end has no idea, goes, keeps calling people and doing it, and you're just keeping it in a loop forever and costing them like tens of thousands of dollars in tokens and credits. So it's really not even good for the companies. I don't think they even realize it. It's not even good for them. It's actually just a net negative. And then there's also going to be less people. If it does replace people's jobs, there's going to be less people in all these economies who are going to be spending money. So the economies are just going to suffer. But in the short term, they'll make loads of money. So I guess that's pretty great, right? Like billionaires getting more money. I mean, what more could you ask for? What an amazing time to be alive. Yeah. See ya.